All right. Well, welcome to Gravity Yoga Express. Tonight we will be stretching our hamstrings. This is a class that a lot of props can be used and involved. So I have with me right now a pillow. I have a couple blankets. I have different blocks. I have the skinny ones. I have the thicker ones. I have a chair. I have a strap. Pretty much use anything that you have. You don't have to have the fancy props if you don't have them. Just use something in place of it. And let's get started. We have some fun poses to do tonight. So we are holding our poses for the 5 minutes. Um, if you can't get to the 5 minutes, that's okay. Don't pressure yourself to push yourself into it. Try to get at minimum the 2 minute mark. So, and I'll announce where we're at time wise. So our first pose that we're going to do is our ragdoll pose. So if you want to come to a standing position on your mat, your feet are going to be about hips width apart. And then just start to bend through your knees and let your chest drape over your thighs. Hold on to opposite elbows and let your head hang. I'm going to go ahead and start the time here. Now for here, we're really trying to get into the back sides of our legs here. You're going to start to feel the stretching sensation, the tension along the back side of our thighs, really getting into our hamstrings. If you feel it in your calves, that's great too. We do have one of our hamstrings that crosses the back of the knee and comes into the calves as well. So we're getting a good stretch here. You can start here with the knees bent. Just let the head hang. Breathing here. Maybe it feels more comfortable to let the hands come to the mat, palms turn up towards the sky. Let your head hang. And of course, if your knees are bent and you need to go a little bit deeper, then you can start to straighten your legs, deepening the stretch on the back side of your legs into those hamstrings. And of course, you can stay where you guys are at. But just so I can kind of show you, if you have any kind of tension or pain in the lower back, you can always use a chair to allow your forearms, maybe even the head comes down to rest on the chair as well, just to help support your body. And of course, remembering our first principle of gravity yoga, finding that wet noodle, that loosey-goosey, completely relaxed feeling. The only tension you should really feel is along the back side of your leg. If you have anything going on in lower back, any kind of tension or crankiness, just slightly bend a little bit more through the knees and allow the chest to drape more on the thighs. But if you can, we're crossing minute number 2 now. But if you can, as we're here longer and longer, you can start to straighten the legs a little bit more, finding that stretch on the back side of the legs and hovering around that 6, 7 out of 10 intensity. Let the head hang, close your eyes, and breathe here. Start to hold this one for a long time. It becomes really therapeutic. Really helps get the blood flow back into the brain. Get some oxygen, fresh oxygen into the brain. I like to do this one if I'm dealing with any kind of head pressure or headaches. This is a nice one to do for that as well. Kind of covering a lot of bases in our stretches here. Of course, you always have the option too. Maybe you're in a space where you're almost to the floor, but not quite there, and not really wanting to hold into elbows, you can always place the back of your palms onto some blocks. So you always have the different heights of the blocks that you can use to support your hands as well. We got just over 1 more minute to go. Long, deep inhales through the nose, long, long sighs out the mouth. Make that sigh, that exhale longer, maybe about 2 times longer than the inhale. That'll help release some tension, really relax the body, allow gravity to really take over, pulling you deeper into the stretch. We got 30 more seconds. Good. You can go ahead and release the arms if you're holding on to elbows. Just take a deep breath, and as you exhale, bend through the knees and come and have a seat on your mat. All right, we're gonna move right into our next stretch here. This is our single side leg stretch. We also know it as the Janu Shasana pose. So we'll start on the right side. Extend the right leg long out to the side. And then the left knee is going to bend and then have that external rotation where it drops down and away from the body towards the ground. Now the foot can, if it can come to the inside of your thigh, feel free to slide it in. Otherwise, if it's just kind of a little bit of space in between your foot and the thigh, that's okay as well. Find some length through the spine. You're going to turn your torso towards the right knee. And keeping the spine straight, you're going to crawl your hands out towards your foot. Think about leading with your chest as you hinge out and over the right leg. Not taking a hold of anything here. When you get to that space where you really start to feel that tension on the backside of the right thigh, pause there, relax the leg, palms turn up, and just let your head hang. Let's start the time here. Stay where you're at. Of course, if you know where you need to go and use whatever props you need, feel free to do that now. I'll kind of demonstrate some different modifications you can use here. If you do find as you're hinging forward that there's a lot of rounding in the lower back, you want to elevate your hips. So you can use a couple of blankets, or my favorite thing to use is a pillow. This is just an old pillow I had, nothing fancy. Prop that up underneath your hips so you can lift them up, and then you can hinge out and over the right leg. Again, palms turn up, relax the right leg, let the head hang. You don't have to come all the way down. Maybe it feels good just to keep the chest propped upright. Arms can be slightly straight. You can start there. You can always use some blocks underneath your hands. Turn your palms up just to stay in that practice for that nervous system hack here. The palms turn up on blocks. You can always stack some blocks on the inside of the leg for your forehead. And of course, you stay where you're at. I have my chair here again. Maybe you have some stuff going on in your lower back and you need some more support. You can always slide your leg underneath a chair and hinge forward and rest on top of the chair. You can do that probably with like a coffee table or something as well. And of course, if you're here with the legs straight, there's some kind of tension, or maybe the right knee is a little cranky, needs some extra support, you can prop a block, a pillow, or blanket underneath the right knee. All right, we're crossing minute number 2. We've got 3 more minutes. You can always add more props as you're here. You can always take props away as you're here. As you start to find some more space, the muscles lengthen and you feel yourself dropping deeper into the pose. Wherever you're at, just scan the body, make sure everything is relaxed. The only tension that you're probably going to feel right here is in the back side of the right leg, and the hamstrings there. You might feel a little bit in your lower back and your hips. That's fine. Deep breaths, close your eyes, and just melt into the pose here. Long, deep inhales through the nose, long, long, long sighs out the mouth. Our third principle of gravity yoga is our second principle has to deal with our breath. So we have that breathe to relax breath. We inhale through the nose for a count of 4 and exhale side out the mouth for a count of 8. And that exhale is key to really releasing tension in the body, really allowing the body to drop deeper into the pose, quieting the mind, finding the stillness. Don't forget your breath. We've got one more minute. Thirty more seconds. Good. On your next inhale, gently plant your palms, slowly walk your torso back upright. I'm going to go right into the other side. We'll switch it up here. You'll extend the left leg long out to the side. And then again, that right knee bends in towards your chest, has the external rotation as the knee drops towards the ground. And the foot can stay where it's at, or if it feels comfortable for you, you can slide your foot right to the inside of the left thigh. Checking in here, if you find rounding in the lower back, go ahead and prop your hips up on a pillow, blanket, blocks, anything that you have. Find that length in your spine. Keep the length as you turn your torso. Heart is in line with the left knee. Keep the spine straight as you start to crawl your hands out towards the left foot. We're not taking hold of anything here. We're going until we start to feel that tug along the back side of the left thigh. Getting in the hamstrings there. When you feel that tension, pause there, palms turn up towards the sky, and then just melt. Release the left leg, allow the head to hang, relax the shoulders, relax the neck, closing your eyes. Maybe pause here for a moment to kind of check in with the body and see if it needs any kind of support anywhere. Remember, we're here for 5 minutes. So you have plenty of time to slowly get into this pose. So even if you start with a bunch of props, as you melt into the pose, you can start removing some of those props and allow the body to drop deeper into the pose when it's ready. And remember, our hamstrings, we don't want to push it too far too quickly. So even if you stay upright, maybe for a minute or two, then you can start to play around with coming deeper into the pose. And again, you can use blocks underneath your hands, your forehead, pillows, blankets underneath your hips if you need to elevate them. And even with the knee, if your right knee is kind of hanging in the air and doesn't feel like it's really going to go any deeper, You can always support the knee out and maybe place a pillow or a blanket or block underneath the knee. And remember, as you're here, just scan the body, make sure you're not holding tension anywhere on purpose, no engagement of the muscles. We're going completely loosey goosey here, letting the body be heavy, letting gravity pull us gently deeper into the pose. We're up to 2 minutes. We've got 3 more minutes to go. Remember, 2 minutes is that magic number that we want to try to hold our poses until about 1:32, 1 minute, 30 seconds, but in 2 minutes. 2 minutes is that magic number that really helps the body build up tolerance for this pose, really helps train the nervous system, train the muscles, body to relax as we drop deeper into these poses. So 5 minutes is just not happening for you tonight. That's okay. Just try to get to those 2 minute mark. Maybe you back out of it for about 30 seconds and then try to come back into it again just to train the body to get used to this pose. Coming up to minute number 3, we've got 2 more minutes. Relax here, melt here, deep, deep breath. Just over 1 more minute. These 5 minutes can feel like an eternity. But once you get the body and the mind trained for this stillness, becomes very therapeutic almost. But if you're at home practicing these and you're by yourself, it's 5 minutes again, can feel like forever. So feel free to always, maybe find some kind of distraction if you need it. These are good poses to do if you're catching up on podcasts, or if you have soft music playing. If you do play music, I recommend either just music or positive lyrics. Some people will even throw Netflix on and catch up on their shows. Just anything to help you get through these 5 minutes and get your stretching done and out of the way for the day. We've got 20 more seconds. Can you melt a little bit deeper into the pose? Giving into it. And on your next inhale, gently plant your palms and walk the torso back upright. If you need a little bit of a reset, you can extend the legs long out in front of you, shake it out, check it out. Otherwise, we're going to move right into our next pose. You got to keep on keeping on here. Okay, coming into our plow pose next. We'll do that next, and then we have one more asymmetrical pose that we'll do, and you guys are all done. So if you know where you need to be or what props you need to use for plow, feel free to grab those now. We are going to try and hold our plow for 5 minutes. There's a couple of things I want to go over with plow before we get into it. Number one, don't be in a hurry to take your feet up and over your head. That will happen with time and practice. I really want you to make sure that you get yourself set up with a solid foundation of protecting the neck and working on finding a little bit of that straight spine. You'll see what I mean here in just a second. Number two, when you're in plow, the gaze, you're going to keep your head still. When you come into plow, do not try to look around. That is very, very dangerous for your neck. And number three, again, don't be in a hurry to get into this pose. It is a very intimidating pose in the beginning, and the more you practice it and figure out what you can use to help support this pose for you, the more forgiving I'm trying to think of a good word for it. It does a lot for the body and becomes very therapeutic as well. I used to hate this pose, and after maybe about 2 or 3 years, I just started getting into where I might love this pose, but I'm still not quite there yet. So there's always the option too, if you want to come to a space at the wall, you can use the wall to bring your feet up onto. Also have blocks. A lot of times I just like to take a couple of blocks, stack them, and bring them up to the top of the mat. That way, as your feet come up and over, your feet will have something to touch. And of course, you can always use the chair and put that up at the top of your mat to bring your feet up and over as well. I do these pose of the week videos, and I will cover plow in one of them so I can show you all the different modifications for that. Another option too, you can use a couch. So you can set yourself up against a couch and bring your feet up and over and let your feet rest on the couch cushion. So wherever you're at, just get your props together, and we're going to go ahead and start getting into our plow pose. I'm going to go ahead and stack a couple blocks on top of my mat just in case my feet decide to find the blocks tonight. Different every time we do this pose. All right, so you want to go ahead and start laying down on your back and have your knees bent so they're pointing up towards the sky, feet flat down on the ground. Now, if you are maybe thinking that this is not your pose tonight, or you absolutely just cannot do this because of back stuff, or maybe the body is just trying to lie to you and say you can't do it, there is an option that you can start with. Option number one, you're going to take your strap or anything that you have that's like a strap, and you're going to place the strap around the soles of your feet, and you're going to extend the feet long, or the legs long up overhead. Just find a slight flexing through the feet, legs are straight, and just stay there. As you're here and you start to drop a little bit deeper into this pose, you'll find that the feet might go up and over. And if you start to feel that, then you can start to come into plow. All right. If you have your way of getting into plow, go ahead and get into it. I'll walk everybody else through it. And I'm going to go ahead and start the timer because we're going to be here for 5 minutes. So here we go. All right. Bring your knees in towards your chest, palms down towards the mat. Use your hands as leverage to help press the hips up. All right. Start with the knees bent in towards your face. Take your hands to the lower back and use your hands to press the hips up towards the sky. Now, as you're here, you can kind of shimmy your shoulders under a little bit more. Find some space underneath your chin, almost as if you can fit an apple, a small apple underneath your chin. This will help protect the neck. And a couple options here. You can stay right here with the knees bent. But if you feel the body starting to relax and wanting to go a little bit deeper into this pose, then you can start to play with extending one leg overhead, then the other. And the toes will either touch the ground or the wall or the cushion, anything that you're using for your feet. My blocks are in way too close. Right here. Now, if your toes do come up and overhead, the legs are extended long, and it feels like you can go a little bit deeper, you can start to tuck your toes under a little bit more and press through the heels. That'll lift the hips up a little bit and find that stretch along the back side of the legs and our hamstrings. Now, again, you can have your toes on blocks or any other prop. The toes can be tucked, or you can untuck them and just let the tops of your feet rest on your prop or the ground. Whatever feels the most supportive for the body and allows you to come a little bit deeper into this pose. We're about 2 minutes. You guys stay where you're at. Now, I know it's really hard to do the deep breathing in your plow pose. Still try to find those long, deep breaths, even if they're a lot more shallow than what we usually do, just to kind of train, again, to build up that tolerance and train the body, train the nervous system to be calm, cool, and collected as much as it can in this pose. Now, if it feels more comfortable to bring your hands to the mat, that's fine. But I want you to make sure that you can actually place the entire palm down on the ground. If the palms are not coming down and you're finding it difficult to plant the palm all the way down, come back to holding your palms at your hips and kind of roll the shoulders under a little bit more, finding that stabilization again, and then you should be able to bring your arms straight out, palms down, fingers spread. Now, some folks find it to be a little bit more supportive for the body, for the nervous system to interlace their fingers. You can interlace your hands as well, rolling the shoulders under a little bit more. Maybe you slightly press the arms into the ground to help support the body. We're almost there. You guys stay where you're at. Keep breathing, long, deep breaths. Okay, we've got 1 more minute. Deep breath, especially in plow, don't hold your breath. Holding the breath will tap into that sympathetic part of the nervous system, that fight or flight side, and that is the side we're trying to turn off in our stretches. We really want to tap into the parasympathetic nervous system. That side is the rest and digest side. A lot of stuff happens in a good way when we turn that side on, and we need that for our deep stretching. All right, now to come out of it in a way, come out so slowly that as you roll out of the pose, the shoulders and the neck and the head do not lift up off of the ground. And as you slowly make your way out of it, just take a minute to pause there. And then if you need to, you can squeeze the knees in towards your chest. Maybe just take a couple of breaths there. And then when you're ready, roll on up into a seated position. And we're going to come into our last stretch here. Plow makes me really sleepy, so hopefully you guys can make it through this last one. All right, we're coming into our wide-legged stretch here. So you're going to find a V shape with your legs. You don't have to go out super far. Just bring them out to a distance that you start to feel a little bit of a tug on the inside of your legs. We're going to get a little bit into the adductors for this one. Keep your blocks nearby. Same thing with all of our other forward folds. If you find it difficult to keep the spine up straight, prop your hips up on a block, blanket, pillow, anything that will help the hips out. Keep your blocks nearby. We'll start on the right side. Extend long through the spine. Keep the spine straight as you turn your torso towards the right knee. And just like we practiced the beginning of this class, you're going to crawl your hands out towards the right foot until you start to feel That tug, you're probably going to feel a lot on the inside of the left leg, even though we're holding over the right leg. And when you get there, pause there, palms turn up, and let the head hang. Relax the right leg. Now we're going to aim for 5 minutes on this side or for this pose as well. And again, with our hamstrings, I want you guys just to continuously check in. Do not push it too far too quickly. I don't want you to pull any hamstring muscle because that is not fun. So even if you have to start upright with the palms down on the ground, arms are straight, just start there. And as you melt deeper into this pose, you'll feel the torso drop down towards the leg. Again, you have your blocks that you can use for the hands. If you want to turn your palms up towards the sky, you can use the blocks there. If you want something for the forehead, you can stack blocks to the inside of the right leg and hinge out and over the forehead, rest there. And again, if the knees are feeling a little cranky here, but the hamstrings are liking the stretch, you can always prop blocks under both knees. And maybe even prop up the hips here too, just to help level things out. And it's the same thing. You'll turn the torso over and hinge over the right leg. Again, hamstrings make us feel like we can do a lot with them. And we tend to push them too far too quickly. And then we feel it. If not in the same day, a couple of days later, we feel that tiredness in our hamstring. So just be mindful of that. Hover around maybe 5, 6, or 7 out of intensity. We don't want to push it too deep in intensity wise. Approaching minute number 2. We've got 3 more minutes to go. Wherever you're at, just relax the neck, relax the shoulders, relax through the legs, no engagement in the muscles, and just let the head drop towards the right leg. Again, feeling this a little bit on the inside of the left leg and the adductors, and you may even feel it in the lower back as well. All is good. You just don't want any sharp shooting pain anywhere in the body. And again, you could always use your chair on this one as well if you need some more support as you lift up. You just slide the chair over the right leg and then lay out on top of the chair, just like we did at the beginning of our class. My stretching brain is starting to kick in. All right, we're at 3 minutes. We got 2 more minutes. Got 1 more minute. Long, deep breath. Give into the pose, give into the stretch, let gravity gently pull you deeper in. Thirty more seconds. And with your next breath, gently plant the palms, slowly walk the torso back upright. We're going to move right into the other side. So maybe move your blocks over to the left. Find that length in the spine again. Keep the length as you turn your torso in line with the left leg, the left knee. Spine stays straight as you crawl your hands out towards your foot, not taking hold of anything here. Once you start to feel that tug, palms turn up towards the sky, relax the legs, and let the head hang. And we'll be here for 5 minutes as well, so you've got plenty of time to add props, remove props, really checking in with the body and what support you can provide it so that it can really relax and drop, allow the deepening of this stretch. Again, you might feel it along the back side of the left leg, and don't be surprised if you feel on the inside of the right leg and the adductors. You might feel a little bit in the lower back. All is good. Just make sure you're not exceeding that 6, 7 out of 10 intensity, maybe 4 or 5 if you have any kind of if you're recovering from an injury or anything in the hamstrings, just find a lower intensity. Relax the shoulders, the neck, just let the head hang. Using any props that you might want to use. Long, deep breaths. Long, deep inhales through the nose. Long, long exhale out the mouth. The more you practice the breath, the more you really feel the release of tension in the body is really giving into the pose on that exhale. The exhale turns off the stretch reflex, turns on the rest and digest side of the nervous system. A huge chunk of our stretching practice is just training the brain, training the nervous system. We got to use a lot of different techniques and tricks and methods to provide that distraction and to really train the nervous system, train the muscles to relax and be a little bit more forgiving in our stretches here. Coming up on minute number 3, we've got 2 more minutes to go. And our last and final minute. Then begin to plant your palms, slowly walk your torso back upright. Move your blocks props to the side. Maybe bring your legs in together and just take them out a couple times. If you need to, you can punch above and below the knee joint. That is our stretches for this evening. Feel free to find your way into a relaxation pose, just to lay there and for a couple of breaths, or roll right into bed. If these are really good stretches to do right before bed, it gets everything calm, cool, and collected. So, all right. Well, thank you guys for stretching with me this evening. If you have any questions, feel free to email me. Otherwise, I will see you all in class very, very soon. Have a good night.